Right, welcome back to another on-base baseball video. My name is Brian Haferkamp, and I'm the designer and creator of On-Base Baseball. In this video, I'm going to be going through a sort of a components breakdown of a new game that I'm creating. It's in the playtesting phase, so if you'd like to playtest it, you can follow the link in the description, and you can go to the GitHub repo, and you can either copy that repo and have the components yourself, or you can simply click on the links and download the PDF files that are necessary for all these different components. But I just want to walk through the components. The game is called Dog Days Baseball, like the dog days of summer. And it's more of a, I guess for me, more of a throwback, sort of traditional baseball tabletop game. And let's walk through the components here. First thing you see is charts, right? So I don't do a lot of chart-based baseball necessarily, not a bunch of charts. I mean, on base is definitely based on a chart, but I've tried to stay away from like multiple charts and that kind of thing. But in this game, I wanted to see how much baseball I could put into a game, and clearly with charts and tables, you can put a lot more of what actually happens in a baseball game into the game itself. So you can see up here in this top section, you can see that, yeah. These are counts, and I'll show you how you interact with these counts. But you know, you have a 0-0 count, so this is sort of, you know, first pitch of the game, a 1-0 count, an 0-1 count, 2-1, etc., all the way down to a 3-2 count. Now you can see as you look through, the percentages change. So 1 to 17 here is a K. 1 to 12 here is a K. So when the count goes to 1 and 0, the results, these are the results if the count gets to 1 and 0. So 12% K rate and a 13% walk rate. Here it's a 17% K rate and a 6% walk rate. So you can see that these are changing as you sort of move between them. On an 0-1, if the count gets to 0-1, your strikeout rate rises to 24% as opposed to just a 2% walk rate. Also, home run rates change as you move through. Hit rates change. The ranges for a hit on a 2-0 count, when the count gets to 2-0, the ranges for a hit in that at bat go way up. So 39 to 67. If it's 0-1 that the count gets to, the range is only 29 to 50 for a hit. Which is also going to affect the number of outs. Doesn't necessarily affect errors, hit by pitches, or walks. Although over here on the 3-2 pitch, you have foul balls. You'll see on the 2-strike pitches, you do have foul balls. And so if you catch a foul ball or hit a foul ball, you simply re-roll and sort of gives you a new turn at bat. I also have what are called the outs chart and the hits chart. They're just like they say. If the result of the play is an out, let's say up here, you add a 72 on a 1-2 count, that would be an outs, and then you would look at your outs chart here. Now, these charts are broken down by A, B, C, and D. These are the level of player, the rating of the batter, and we'll look at some ratings in just a moment and break down how I got to those ratings. So, an A batter, if he rolls a 20, that's going to be a line drive to the opposite field, either to the first or third baseman, depending on the handedness of the batter. For a D, 20, then that would be a ground ball pulled to first or third base, depending on his handedness. If he's a switch hitter, then you're obviously going to have to look at the pitcher also to see how he's batting. Same thing for the hits. If he's an A batter and it's a 75, then that's going to be a double ground roll pulled. So whatever the batter's handedness is will determine, where that ball is is hit to the outfield. Same thing, pull center and oppo. Oppo is opposite field. So you can pull the ball, you can hit it to center field, or you can hit it to the opposite field. And that's sort of how these things get broken down all throughout. Sometimes there are very specific, that's a pop out to third base, or this is a ground ball. If it's a chance for a double play, it's a 4-6-3, or otherwise it's going to be just a 4-3 put out. So there are some very specific ones, but then there's kind of generalized outcomes in there as well. So this is going to be your main chart. So I put all these on here. Probably 75% to 85% of the game is going to be right off of these this chart. So I put it all on one. We also have some extra things, extra charts. You'll frequently, and you can see here on this card, it's a batter card. So if you flip a batter card, then you're going to consult this chart. Again, it's based on the batter's abilities, his value. And then if you flip a batter card, you roll a d10, and then you find what is the outcome of the play. Is it a hit, home run, strikeout, walk, hit by pitch, out? Is there an error on the play for some of these sort of more rare occurrences? I don't think I've ever hit. Maybe I've hit on one of these before. I've hit 100 for that, but I have not really hit on any of these errors yet. But it is possible, so a 1% chance. All this is based off of a 100 scale. Therefore, everything, if it's a single number, that's a 1% chance. So you can sort of figure it out that way. The game engine is not complex, but the game engine is deep. You can see just here there's a lot of opportunities for different things. If there's another one that's a pitcher, so I don't have that one here, but if it's a pitcher, you would do the same thing. You look at the pitcher value, like what is his rating, and pitchers are rated A through D, and then you simply cross-reference his rating with whatever the roll is that you rolled with the 2 D10 dice, and then you would consult the appropriate chart. If there's an error on the play, you consult the error chart, roll 2 D10s, and then find what is the error. There are fielding errors, there are throwing errors. For steals, there's a steal chart here. All the players are rated by their speed rating. So every player has a speed rating A through D. And then you would simply roll the 2 D10s if you want to steal. You make your intention known to steal. I'm going to steal third base, I'm going to steal second base, whatever it is. Roll 2 D10s, consult the roll result against the batter's in the appropriate column for the batter's speed. And then you have safe, out. There's a section here where there's no throw, so essentially safe as well. And then there's a couple of errors on the one error on the catcher, an error on the catcher throwing, and then the runner gets an extra base. So there's an error. They throw through, the throw goes through, cut off by the center fielder. So safe on the play. I think I've set it up so that there's an error. The runner goes to third. I'm still trying to figure out, how all this works, but there's an error. Runner goes to third because I don't even need necessarily that. And then on this one, the runner goes to third and winds up scoring, like they throw it all the way through to the wall or something like that. Then there's a pickoff, which is, a bigger chance of a pickoff, 2%, for a D stealer than for one of these other guys. But there's an opportunity, so pickoffs are in there as well. And that's a 1-3-6. So it'll go pitcher to first to shortstop. So they sort of pick him up and get him tagged out at second base. There are tag ups. There are tag ups when the ball is hit deep, which when you look at our outs chart, you can see that some of these fly balls, like this one, fly ball to center, deep center field. That's opposed to a fly ball to center, just regular depth to center field. So we have a couple of different depths. So you have tag up deep, and you have a tag up that's medium, and you have an opportunity for, obviously it's easier to make it when it's medium fly ball than it is when it's a deep fly ball. Um, you can also, sort of modify this, and you don't have to go by the chart. If it's deep, you can just say that's to the warning track, and nobody's going to get thrown out, tagging up from the warning track or whatever you want to do. Double plays. If there's a double play situation, there are obvious double plays here, where it tells you there's a double play, 6-4-3, 4-6-3. But then what if you roll here where it says ground ball pulled to second or shortstop, and there's a runner at first base with one out? That's a double play situation, and you want to try to roll for that double play. But if you get this ground ball pulled to second, let's say it's to second base, then you would need to roll for the double play if you want to do that. Otherwise, you would just take the fielder's choice at either second or first. And if you roll, there is a fielder's choice built in. So it's a 1 to 20 chance to get an A speed runner, and you're looking at the batters. You're rolling against the batter's speed here. So I always sort of assume the out at second base. That's something that I often do in on-base baseball for sure. Sort of makes it easier. I mean, most of the time you're going to make that play at second base. And so I roll off of the batter's speed for double plays. So if he's an A speed, then a 1 to 20 will get him. Obviously, the way I got to these numbers is I just looked up some of the different players in those categories, and I looked up what was their grounded into double play percentage, basically. And it's about 20% for the really good base runners. These are runners, and a runner has a speed of 8 or greater, which is very rare. There aren't very many of them in the game. I'll show you in the game in just a moment. Lou Brock is an A base runner. And speed is an old Bill James stat from a long time ago that encompasses a few different parts of base running. So stealing success, stealing attempts, their overall base running ability. So there's a few different things that go into it, but it's on a 1 to 10 scale, and that sort of just fits with the dice that I'm using. So it's just as easy to use UBR or BSR or something like that, but those are scaled on an average, like above average or below average. So they are a little bit different in the way that I would have to calculate those numbers to get a rating, but I've used those as well. Okay, so that's just a little background. And you roll against this. You can have a double play of fielder's choice. Everybody can be safe, so that is possible that everyone is safe, but the odds diminish as you go down to a D batter. So there's only a 3% chance here, where there's more like a 8% chance here. 9%, I guess, a 9% chance there. And then there's a 1% chance that there's going to be an error on the play. And I suppose you could decide where that error goes, or you could roll against the error chart, which is here. Or you could roll against the error chart if you wanted to, although in a double play, you're not going to have an error on the outfielder, so it could be a little bit of a strange thing. Might have to roll twice to get an infielder. Or just to say 50-50 chance. I don't know what you want to say on that, but there should be an error on the play, and you can just decide how that error gets meted out. Extra bases. This is if you're trying to take extra bases. So let's say you're trying to go first to third, or you're trying to score from second on a base hit, something like that. So then you would look at their rating for running, the base runner that you're sending, and then you would roll against that. So you can see it's about an 86% chance of being safe for an A runner, which I think you'll find is spot on. These are numbers that I looked up as well. And then on the back of that sheet, I tried to make some sense of how to lay out the charts. These are plays that you're going to use with the manager cards here. So these are cards that you can sort of create the action yourself. So that we have an infield in chart, we have a hit and run chart, and then we have all of our bunting charts are here. So sack bunts, bunting for a hit, and then a squeeze bunt. So we have cards, we have manager cards for all of these, and the manager cards are here. You can see them. I can separate them. So you have all these different manager cards that you could play, especially if you're playing head-to-head with somebody. Then you could play any of these manager cards, lay it down and say, I'm going to hit and run. And then from there, you wouldn't turn over another action card. You would simply roll. You would look at the batter's. You would look at his rating as a batter, and then roll, and then get that. So on an infield in, obviously 1 through 40 for an A batter. So that's about a 410 hitting percentage average. So you have about a 41% chance of getting a hit of some sort. For a B batter, it's about 390. For a C batter, it's about 360, and for a D batter, it's 300. So there are opportunities here to get hits, but then pretty much for everything from here all the way to the bottom is some sort of out. There are double plays here. There are fielder's choices. You can hit a fly ball. There's pop outs, and there's different ground balls error plays. So it's about 10% error percentage. And then there's tons of ground balls. So there's a ground ball fielder's choice. There's more fielder's choices here. Just different plays. So these are more, you hit the ball right to the shortstop, and then you go shortstop to catcher, and then you only get the one. So they make the force out at home, right? Or the tag at home, whatever the case may be. But it's a fielder's choice, and the batter would be safe at first. So in this one, it's a pitcher to the catcher, and it's a fielder's choice. They just get the one at home. Batter at first is safe. But on these, they actually complete the double play. Here, they would just go to first base. So the only play is to first. There's no play at home. So then you would be a 5-3 put out at first. The run would score. So I'll try to think of like literally every scenario that I could possibly think of. And so that's why you have a super long list, because there's a lot of things that could happen whenever you pull the infield in like that. Anytime you see an asterisk, that means that the batter gets an extra base. So on any single, the runner gets one base. I'm sorry, the runner gets an extra base. On a single, the runner will take one base for the single, and then with an asterisk, because it's hit to right center field, they're going to take an extra base. So if it's infield in and there are runners at first and third, you're trying to cut down the run at home. There's a single, a line drive to right center field. The run from third is going to score, and the runner from first goes to second and then takes third as well, so it takes an extra base. So that's how you sort of see there's several of them here on the hit and run. So you can also play a hit and run card, and with any batter, there's a hit and run opportunity. It's about a 310 average on a hit and run for an A batter. And then you can see that it goes down to about a 220 average for a D batter for getting a hit. So these are all your hits. You want to roll low on these two in order to get a hit. Otherwise, it's going to be some sort of out. Here, there's a strikeout with a stolen base. And here, there's a strikeout with a caught stealing. So strike them out, throw them out. And as your batters get worse, that opportunity goes up for that. As this stays about the same for the stolen base. It changes a little bit as you get down. But my assumption is that there are going to be more strikeouts from a D batter than from an A batter. So that's sort of where I'm going from that. And you can see some of these have a 2 asterisks. So this is a long single. A single, so the runner is off on the pitch, right? So they're going to make second base easily. And then by the time the ball is out into the outfield, that runner's taking third on the single and then getting an extra base. So coming home from first on a single to right center field. Thinking about this as like a long single, so it doesn't quite get to the wall, but a runner who's on the move already can score from first base on a long single. So sort of thinking that way, there's only a couple percent chance for that. It's pretty rare. Here, there's an interesting one. So that's a fly ball to the opposite field, either deep left center or deep right center. And because the runner is on the move, he's already rounded second base. And so there's a double play at first base. So you think about, at times you've seen that runner coming around. They didn't think they were going to make the play in the outfield. They make the play. They get up. They throw the ball back in. And they get the runner because he's got to make his way back around the bases, right? So that's a fun one, and just a little bit of a chance there to do that. And then we have our sacrifice bunts. So I'll try to think of every possible scenario you could think of with sacrifice bunting, including some errors. And there's also on 100, there's a chance, even on a sacrifice, for a single. Now for a bunt hit, obviously your single percentage is going to go up because that's what your intention is to do. And it's about a 20% success rate in the major leagues for bunt hits. So hitters are about 200 for doing that. Otherwise, there's a little bit of an error chance here, but otherwise you're going to make an out for the most part. A 3 unassisted would be like you're trying to bunt it down the first baseline and you hit it right to the first baseman, and he's just standing there in the baseline and tags out the runner, right, or the batter. And then the squeeze bunt. Try to think of all the different ways that you could you can make an out basically with a squeeze bunt. There's a couple of pop-ups here. There's a strikeout with 2 unassisted. Which would be a 2 unassisted fielder's choice, I think is how you would say that. So there's a strikeout, and he misses the bunt. The catcher catches it. The player's coming home, tags him at the plate. That's a strikeout with a 2 unassisted. You can have a 1-2 fielder's choice where it's bunted right back to the pitcher. Pitcher tosses it to the catcher. Catcher tags out the base runner coming in from third, but then the runner at first would be safe. And then there's a couple of double plays here where you would it would be a pop out, and then a 2-6 double play. Trying to think about how that works. Yeah. So it's a pop out. Shortstop is covering third base. So you you pop out to the catcher. I guess maybe you could just tag the base runner too if they're coming home, but it's a pop out to the catcher. Catcher catches the ball, tosses it to third for the double play. So just trying to think about all the possible ways that could happen. Obviously, these are going to come in so rarely. They might not ever happen to you. You play a million games. Which, just like baseball, is sort of what I'm thinking. All right, so this video is getting long, but going to keep chugging. Here are more game components. These are the cards, what I'm calling the action cards. And you see there's different kinds here. There's a there's a batter card, and then there's what I'm calling a count card. So you can see some of these. And you just draw the different counts. This one is an automatic hit. I should put it there. That's an automatic hit. As far as prepared, I've had all these individual types. There is a pitcher card. So just like we have the batter chart, we have the pitcher chart. And I won't be able to, oh, here it is. We have one that's an automatic out, a couple of those. So here you would go straight to the out chart, and you don't roll against anything else except for the outs. And there is an automatic walk as well. So if you pull that card, then that's just an automatic walk. There's no rolling for anything. And I have a few extra cards. These come with the set, so you can add in another walk if you want to. I find that there are plenty of walks in the game, but if you want to add another walk, you can. And then I have a couple of error chances. I prefer not to have a ton of errors in the game, but maybe you're playing an older era and you want to make sure that there's at least an error or two in the game, then you could put these in here. So you have a little bit of opportunity to craft the game like you want to. But again, you would look at these. The hit, obviously, you're going to go off of the hits chart. If you draw a batter or a pitcher. So if you were to draw, let's say, a pitcher card, then you would look at the pitcher's pitching value, A, B, C, or D, roll a D10, and then you would consult this chart here. If it's a batter card, you would look at this chart here. For an error, if you did want to play with the error card, then you would just roll against this chart to find out what the error is. And the out chart, obviously you're just going to look at the outs chart, which would be this one here. You look at the batter's value, and you consult that. And for a hit chart, you would just go straight to the hit chart. There's no need to roll for anything else. Okay, so these are called the action cards. And basically they're flipped over, and then every at bat starts with some action card like that. And so if you have a 3-2 count, you roll your D10, you consult the 3-2 chart, and whatever the range is, that's the outcome of the play. If you hit a 61, that's a home run automatically off of for the batter. I have two full sets of these manager cards. So if you wanted to play head-to-head with someone, you could, and each of you would have a card set. It's good to just sort of declare your intention, putting down what you intend to do so that everybody's clear about what is going to happen with the play. All right, and the next phase is talking about the cards, the team cards. So let's make a little space for those. All right. So the demo game comes with 4 teams. One is the 1968 Cardinals. Another is the 1962 Giants. So I have both of those here. A couple of classic National League teams. I also have the 2001 Mariners, which they have won more games than any team in the history of baseball. And then I also have the 2016 Cubs. Obviously, they won the World Series. They broke the curse. Maybe it would have been fun to do the Red Sox as well. Whatever that was, 2003. I don't remember when they won the World Series, but it was around the early 2000s. And so maybe that would have been a little more fun. Anyway, we have the cards, and these are full team sets, and you'll see in just a moment. These are just the starting lineups, right? So we have obviously the great Bob Gibson, and as we walk through his card, you can see a few things here. His role is a starting pitcher. He throws right-handed. He has a pitching rating of A. So when we're looking at our pitcher, chart, you would use the A column for Gibson. Here's Juan Marichal, and he is a B, so he would be in the B column. His stamina is 34. Now, what does that number mean? I mean, that's a good question. 34 is how many batters he can face before you have to make some sort of action on his stamina. And for these games, it's super easy to just, if he crosses his stamina line in an inning and he goes out for the next inning, um, you just drop him down to a B. So there's lots of like really easy ways to sort of manipulate the stamina. At 34 batters, he obviously can throw complete games. With 34 batters, he can still give up several hits and still complete a game with 34 batters, which is not uncommon for him. He had 28 complete games out of 34 starts. Only 6 games he didn't complete that year. So I would expect, with a guy who threw 300 innings, that he's probably gonna finish most of the games that he starts on the tables. But 22-9, a 1.12 ERA. We all know about the ERA. You also have, so these are some of the more traditional stats up here: 268 Ks in 304 innings. Only 198 hits. His whip was 0.85. So fewer than 1 walks and hits per inning pitched. And we have his FIP here. So his FIP was a little bit higher than his ERA. His Ks per 9 and his K percentage, his walks per 9 and his walk percentage, home runs per 9 was 0.32. Didn't give up many home runs. Although in the test game that I'm playing, he did give up a home run to Harvey Kuhn. So there's that part. And then RA9 WAR is, it's like trying to put WAR on a normalized scale with a batter. So if he were equivalent to a batter, his WAR would be a 13.5, which is Ruthian, like off the charts kind of territory. And then there's the year of the card, the team that the batter is on, and then the little Dog Days logo. So that's our pitcher card. We have Roger Maris here. Maybe someone with a little more name recognition. So Gibson is facing off against the 62 Giants. And here is his teammate, Roger Maris, that year. So we'll walk through. So you can see this is the defensive position for the player, how they bat, right or left hitter or switch. Their batting rating or value is what you would use to figure out if you go to the batting chart, or really any of our outs or hits. You're going to use that batting rating. So it's if it was Maris and he made an out and the roll was a 42, you would go to C and you would look up 42 and you would say, okay, it's a ground ball opposite field to second base or shortstop. Because he's a left-handed batter, that would be through the shortstop, which would be the opposite field for him. So that's how you would sort of use their batting rating to figure out where the outcomes go. He has a D speed, so if you're looking at any of these base running plays, whether it's double plays, taking extra bases, tagging up, steals, all of these would use his D speed rating. So if you were trying to steal, it'd be a 1 to 40 is safe, and then probably another, 3-4% for a no throw. So that's about a 45% chance, or maybe a little bit less, of being safe. And then the rest of the time he's going to be out with a few chances for some errors. So the way I get to these ratings, just very quickly, is very similar to on-base baseball. So if you've played on-base, you'll be familiar with it. I've just converted each column in on-base to a letter grade. So an A batter is a batter that has 30 plus batting runs for that season. Batting runs is a ballpark and league adjusted version of weighted runs above average. So how many runs above average was that player? And an A batter is 30 or more runs. They're good for 30 or more runs above average, which means that their WAR is about 3 over the average player. Not over a replacement player, but over the average player, they have a 3+ WAR, which is, outstanding. There's only 15 or so of these each in a given season, maybe 20. These are sort of your perennial all-star, not perennial all-star, perennial MVP type players. Roger Maris in 1961 is going to be an A batter. In 1968, toward the end of his career, he's going to be a C batter. A B batter is anyone from 10 batting runs up to 30. So 10 to 30. These are all-stars. If you look at the players who are in that range, they're more than above average, less than a superstar. So somewhere in that range. C encompasses below average players to above average players. So these are, this is the meaty middle of the bell curve. Most of the players are going to be C batters. You're going to have several D batters as well, but like, who's a C batter for these guys? Just to give an example, there aren't very many on the Giants. The Giants had a very good and an excellent hitting team in 1962. I don't think they have any C batters. Maris that year is a C batter. You can see his weighted runs created plus is a 105. 100 is considered average. Here's Mike Shannon. Again, a 114, so a little above average. I don't want to mix these up because I got them in the batting order. Orlando Cepeda in 1968, very different than Orlando Cepeda in 1962, is also a C. But you can see his weighted runs created plus is a 105. So most of these guys are going to be hovering around that 115 to 85, 90 weighted runs created plus. If you look at someone like a Jose Pagan, his weighted runs created plus is less than 85. Probably, I would say less than 90 is probably going to be your below average players. Obviously, not a great OPS, 259 average. He was okay. Didn't hit a lot of home runs, but he did hit quite a few doubles. And then you have Willie Mccovey, who's a 154 weighted runs created plus and a 413 WOBA. This is his rookie year, and just outstanding numbers. That puts him up toward the top. You're like, well, where does the A weighted runs created plus come in? Those guys are in the 160s, 170s, and up to 200. 200 is like Ruthian, Trout, Juan Soto, Bryce Harper kind of territory. So 154 is an excellent number. He only played in 91 games, so he didn't play in all the games. But he has a 957 OPS, 20 home runs in only. These are mixed up, but I've fixed this recently. So 229 at bats. It should be. Can't have more at bats than plate appearances. So in 261 plate appearances, he had 20 home runs. That's a 10% rate. So it's, he was ripping the ball that year. And so you have all of these statistics, and they'll prove out their numbers. So if you're seeing a B batter, you can expect this to be in that 125 to 155 sort of range. And the great Willie Mays, you see here, his 1962 card. He's a 10.5 WAR, almost 1,000 OPS for the year, slugging 615. He had 49 home runs, 141 RBIs. His weighted runs created plus was a 163, and he is an A batter. So you can see between these two, an A and a B. Significant difference in WAR, but also significant difference in the number of plate appearances and games played. So Mays played almost twice as many games as Mccovey, and if he had performed the same over the same number of games, probably he would have had a 5 WAR. So obviously he'd have been in the top 1% of the league. 428 WOBA, and then you can see his strikeout numbers and stolen bases, and et cetera, et cetera. But for an A batter, they're going to be in that 160 and up sort of range, 165 and up kind of range with the weighted runs created plus. So essentially that means he's 100 is average. He's 63% better than the average player. Willie Mccovey is 55% better than the average player in 1962. So that's how you can read those. So that's going to be, that's not McCovey. So Mays, McCovey, Pagan, Roger Maris. I think that's all for the cards. You can see Lou Brock. So his speed was an A speed. His batting was a B in 1968. 279 average, 746 OPS. He only hit 6 home runs, but he had 62 stolen bases. Excuse me. Against only 12 caught stealing. Again, 1968, a lot of numbers were, offensive numbers were very depressed, but still managed a 124 weighted runs created plus, and you can see, that's good enough for a B rating. Struck out quite a bit, 17%, a little bit more than I would have expected for him. And so we have, we have the Cardinals here, Orlando Cepeda, which it's kind of fun with these two sets. You can actually compare him between 1962 and 1968. A little different kind of player. Mike Shannon is there, Maris. And then I have them so that, this is who's pitching against this team. Okay, and just to let you know, you're going to get a lot of players. So here are the Giants pitchers. There's a ton of them. Anybody who got into a game and pitched, maybe these guys. Dick LeMay, he only pitched in 9 games, but he gets carded. Gaylord Perry's in there. Don Larson is in there. You just got all these different players. Sanford was a B pitcher with a 28 stamina. He's a starter. And you can obviously separate these any way that you want to. Billy Pierce with a fine year, 16 and 6 in 1962. And Billy Odell, sort of the ace of the staff, lefty, A pitcher, 19 and 14 that season. You can see a 284 FIP, so just off the charts with the FIP. And their pitching rating, I talked about how I got to the batting rating, but not the pitching rating. The pitching rating is very similar to on-base baseball. So the A pitchers have a FIP of 0 to 3.50. Just like on-base baseball, that first column for the top tier pitchers, it's the same exact rating system. A B pitcher would be anyone with a FIP from 3.50 to 4.25. So you can see that his is a 3.71. So if you did want to rate your own players, you could do that. You could even use the roster charts, the roster sheet sets, if you've already bought those, and you can just use these charts and play Dog Days Baseball just based off of these ratings and stamina. Stamina is batters faced, so total batters faced divided by games pitched, and you won't find total batters faced on here, but I did figure that total batters faced divided by games pitched, not games started as opposed to games gotten into, just total games pitched. And so you'll see, let's say for a reliever here, he pitched in 42 innings, and he can go 8 batters before you have to make some sort of decision on either pulling him from the game or dropping him down. Same with Stu Miller and Don Larson. Seems like relievers went a little bit more back then. Garibaldi is a little lower, and then Gaylord Perry could be sort of that swing man, right, who gives you 4 or 5 innings. Same with McCormick. Know who their closer is. Oh, I did write down that their closer role. He had 19 saves even in 1962. You know, they were coming in and having the save statistics. So he gets the closer role per baseballreference.com is where I'm sort of finding these roles of their main pitchers. And they considered him to be the closer. So if you want to play closers, it's there. If you don't care about that kind of stuff, then you can just use anybody, obviously. So you get all of these. See if we can fan them a little bit. I just want you to see, you know, just how many players you're going to get. So you're going to get, you know, all these guys here. You know, that's your pitching crew. And then you've got all of these hitters. And one of the reasons there's a lot of hitters is because every pitcher who batted is also carded. So if you want to just sort of play as is, there's a bunch of them under here too that you can't see, and a bunch of them here in the middle. But you can see that Don Larson is also carded. So he had 26 plate appearances in 1962. He's a C batter. He has a 26 weighted runs created plus, which is tiny, but he did get a few hits, 5 hits and 25 plate appearances. So could handle the stick a little bit. And, you know, even Stu Miller, who, you know, he only got 18 plate appearances that year. He is carded as well. So you get, here's a starting pitcher card. So he had 100 plate appearances, batted 133. He's a D batter, etc., etc. Juan Marichal. It's a 236 hitter in 100 plate appearances. You have utility players. You know, Manny Mota only got into 45 games, but you can see based on his plate appearances, his games that he's gotten into, all of his different statistics, and he is also carded. A utility man can play infield or outfield, whatever you need them to play. Okay, so that's you get a lot of cards, and so that's the Giants, and same thing for the Cardinals. You can see, you know, you can get a Steve Carlton card in there, which he pitched in 34 games through 10 complete games. He has an A because his FIP was a 2.43, so even at sort of later stages, or maybe that's earlier stages in Carlton's career. I don't know. Probably earlier stages in his career, I guess. So you got all these different relief pitchers, and then we have their bench players. You'll recognize several of these names, I'm sure, if you kept up, especially with the Cardinals. Bob Gibson is carded as a batter, so you can see that it's batting and speed. This is not a pitching card. 170 batter. Ironically, he is a better choice coming off the bench to hit than maybe somebody else. Than Nelson Browse, who was a 7 weighted runs created plus. So pitchers are carded. You have sort of outlier guys coming off the bench. There's a catcher that only got into a handful of games. He's a minus weighted runs created plus player, which is pretty bad. And you just get a ton of cards here. So I literally carded everybody. I did not put any limitations on who got a card. So if you want to play as played lineups, you will be able to play everybody who got into a game in whatever that year was. 1962 for the Giants, 1968 for St. Louis. It's the same thing for the Cubs, which there's a ton of players for the Cubs. And for the Mariners as well, you'll be able to play anybody who got into a game, anybody who had an at-bat, which is, the pitchers for the Mariners. There's not very many pitchers who did get at-bats, but I think they were already moving into interleague play at that point. So there are some players that did get at-bats. And I think that's it. So this is, these are all the game components. It's a little bit more component heavy maybe than some of the games that I've done, because it's just a little bit more traditional than some of the games that I've done. And you can download all these at the link in the description where I'll put it. It's a GitHub repo that you can go and download other game pieces. Basically, you click the link, download the charts, download the PDF. All of these charts are in one PDF. All of these action cards are in a PDF, so these and these. The teams are each separated by team, so you don't have to download all of them. You can download them in color or in black and white. These are the black and white versions of the team cards. If you want to save some ink and you don't want to print color, don't have to. Obviously, this is a lot of cards just for 2 teams, right? The color versions have the main team's color in the background here with the white text, and also the team, the city is also, or the three-letter abbreviation is also in color. So those are the only color pieces. So you'll have a block of color here, and then you'll have a block of color with the text color, and that's it. All right, I think that's it. I am out of time. I thought I was going to be able to do a little demo as well, but I'm not going to be able to do that right now. But I'll finish up. I have a game going here that you can see. So this is the Giants at the Cardinals. It's 2-2. McCarver had he doubled in Dahl Maxwell, and then Kurt Flood hit a double to right field down the line that scored McCarver. Lou Brock tried to score on the double here, and he was thrown out, actually. It was a double to right, and he was thrown out. Oh, I'm sorry. He tried to score on the Kurt Flood double. And really good relay. Got Lou Brock at the plate. Very rare, but they did get him. There's a home run here by Harvey Kuhn. And Hiller, the second baseman, scored on a Willie Mccovey single in the 3rd inning. So that's the Giants scoring. So we'll see how that one turns out. But I'll have to finish up that game at some point. All right. So this is kind of this is the first one that I'm using with the carded players. So that's kind of where that game is for the first time. Okay. I think that's it. If you have any questions about the game, there's also a game, like a really brief game guide that talks through all the different abbreviations, what they mean, because I did a lot of shorthand on a lot of these plays here. So what do those things mean? If you're familiar with baseball, you should know most of them. You could probably guess your way to most of them. But some might be a little bit more tricky for you. So there's some clarity there. Also, there's a guide as to like which kind of pitcher is an A pitcher, B pitcher, C pitcher, etc. And also just generally rolling, like what happens when you pull an error card, what happens when you pull a count card, or doing some of the special manager plays. I think that is very straightforward for those who have been in the gaming world, the hobby, for a long time. I think that this will feel maybe even a little bit more familiar to you than some of my other games. This feels like a more traditional charts-based type of baseball game. But you got the cards, you got the charts, you got the dice. I didn't talk about the dice, but you need 2d10s. That's all you need in order to play. So you'll flip a card, roll the d10s. If it's a count card, you just consult this chart. If it's directly to an out or a hit, you consult that chart. If it's a batter or pitcher card, then you'll consult the batter or pitcher chart on the other page. And then the other charts are, they're going to come in sometimes, but not very often. All right. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please do so. Just click subscribe. And if you click the little bell icon, you'll be notified anytime I put out new video content, which is, several times a week. So lots of opportunities for either watching On Base being played, or Yaya Tabletop Baseball, which is another game, or this game, Dog Days Baseball. Any game news that comes out, I'll typically share, and any instructional videos that I feel like need to be shared will be there as well. Love to interact with guys who are playing the games. So if you are playing, just leave a little comment. If you have a question about something, I'm happy to try to straighten it out for you as well. You can join the Facebook group for On Base Baseball, and that's where all things on base are. People are sharing games that they played or leagues that they've created. You can get downloads and files and things that I share, sometimes exclusively there on Facebook and not on the Delphi forums or anywhere else. All right, I think that's it from here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.